Hey guys, Liko here. This is my Magicka Dragonknight build and rotation video for the Harrowstorm DLC. This is tailored towards PvE trial content, but can be adapted to suit all your PvE needs. So this is what I'm going to cover. The two main gear setups with alternatives, including quick explanations of why the perfected Asylum Staff and Elf Bane are so good on the Magicka Dragonknight. I'll go over CPs and important abilities. Then I'll go over an explanation of the rotation, including a static one. And finally, I'll show a couple of Iron Atronach Parses with the two setups. So the perfected Asylum Staff is really strong on Magicka. It's being used really well in all trials recently. Here, the tooltip says that every second cast of Force Pulse will always apply the burning, concussion and chill status effects. This isn't strictly true because if you bar swap whilst using this ability, you don't get the status effect procs, which actually ends up costing you quite a lot of DPS and sustain from burning due to the combustion passive. Look what happens when I bar swap the proc. The damage on a second dummy only shows the base Force Pulse damage, even though we saw the animation. The rotation section later on will offer some really nice ideas to help you prevent wasting the procs. Elf Bane has been buffed in Harrowstorm. Now, every flame damage dot ability has its duration increased by 5 seconds, whereas previously it was only 2 seconds. For a Magicka, this boosts several abilities. In my opinion, this is a really cool change because it actually affects the rotation, whereas most other sets don't really impact things like that at all. Bear in mind, since this is a heavy armor set, you must use 3 pieces of jewelry and then 2 heavy pieces on the body. The gear setup I'm most excited to show is the 2 Zarn, 5 Elf Bane and 3 Perfected False God setup with the Asylum staff. For a while now, I've been sharing passes on Magicka where Sorori is used for comparison purposes because it is the strongest set. This setup without Sorori is at least on par and might end up being best to carry into a raid. As usual though, there is no one size that fits all. For example, Elf Bane won't necessarily be useful in Asylum if the boss is immune for those extra 5 seconds of most of your dots. This is really close to the second setup, the 5 Elf Bane, 5 Sorori Asylum staff setup. In a raid, for most situations, you might opt for New Moon Acolyte or False God or Soror or any alternative set over Sororia. You might prefer this type of setup in Sunspire, for example, where Zarn doesn't hit the bosses. As you can see though, both setups are able to hit around 92k on the trial dummy. Here are the CPs I use for both setups. Feel free to use them, but do adjust your blue CPs to fit your in-group. For example, the spell erosion or the amount of spell penetration will differ based on the debuffs present. The red CPs are trial dependent. Here's what I like to use generically. The green CPs, it really depends on you. If you like to live on the edge and bash weave a lot, then stacking into Bashing Focus is nice. 100 into Arcanist is pretty standard, but I also put 64 into Mooncraft for overall stamina recovery boost. Here are the skills that I used in the rotation. I do mention some very important alternative skills later on though. Scalding Ring is a dot which has a really strong direct damage portion. Force Pulse is our spammable. Inner Light is here for the passive stat boost. Flames of Oblivion lasts 15 seconds and hits 2 enemies every 5 seconds. It does not get expended by Elf Bane though. Burning Talons is a pretty strong AoE which lasts 9 seconds thanks to Elf Bane. It has a decent direct damage portion and also provides a synergy. Shooting Star is slotted partially for the passive damage from the Mage's Guild, but also pretty good thanks to Elf Bane extending it too. Blockade is a 19-second ground AoE thanks to Elf Bane. This ability procs your backbar enchant and is the basis of the VMA staff. Burning Embers and Engulfing Flames are also 19-second dots thanks to Elf Bane. Barbed Trap is basically a 19-second dot as well, which costs stamina and provides mana force. Eruption is a 24-second ground AoE, again boosted by Elf Bane. Standard of Might is a really strong ultimate which is mainly used because it increases your damage by 15% if you stay inside it. It lasts 25 seconds thanks to Elf Bane. Let's now talk about the rotation. This rotation is actually much simpler than some of the Magicka rotations I've shown in the past. There is a focus on bar swapping as little as possible to minimize losses from using the Asylum stuff. You can lose up to 2 or 3% of your DPS if you don't pay attention to this. Here I'll describe a slightly more dynamic rotation and also a static rotation. So for dynamic rotation, let's talk about the backbar first. The backbar skills of Blockade, Trap, Burning Embers and Engulfing Flames are all 18 to 19 seconds long, so this defines the rotation length. You should cast all 4 in a row. Order doesn't really matter. You can fit in Eruption whenever it expires, or just add it as a 5th consecutive back bar skill. I'm usually swapping with Scalding Rune from front bar to back, but you can use any skill. In a real fight, you'll have to be flexible, but just bear in mind bar swapping a Force Bowls cast with an Asylum proc will grant no bonuses, so let this be your last choice. In the meantime, keep up Flames of Oblivion and Burning Talons on cooldown, and cast Force Pulse otherwise, and that's about it. Here is an example static rotation. Start with Flames and Oblivion and Scalding Rune, switch to your back bar, use Trap, Blockade, Eruption, Burning Embers and Engulfing Flames. Then switch to your front bar again and use Talons, then spam Force Pulse 8 times, use Talons, spam Force Pulse twice more, then use Flames of Oblivion and then finish off with Scalding Rune. Rinse and repeat. Replace a spam with your Stand of the Might or whatever ultimate whenever ready. If you're using Mystic Orb instead of Scalding Rune, you could try something like this. You could use the same back bar, but on the front bar you could try and use Talons, then Orbs, then spam Force Pulse 7 times, use Talons, then Orbs again, spam twice more, Flames of Oblivion, then back to your back bar. Let's talk about some of the alternative skills. I would definitely suggest using Mystic Orbs instead of Scalding Rune for fights where there is cleave and where the boss has a big hitbox. Degeneration is a cheap single target dot, entropy heals. Either morph of Soul Trap can be useful depending on the situation. Unstable morph does more damage than Blockade but has a smaller radius and needs to cast it more often. Flame Reach is a dot which gets the bonus 5 seconds from Elf Bane. A shield such as Harness Magicka is handy for when you need to be defensive. Channeled Acceleration is a good alternative to Barb Trap to provide minor force. And you can use Coagulating Blood should you need it as a self-heal. Now here is a side-by-side of the two setups on an Iron Atronach to finish off. On the left we have the Zarn Elfbane 3 False God setup, and on the right the Elfbane Soria setup. I'll scroll through the CMX at the end and leave the screenshots in the description below. This video took me way too long to make, so I don't know if I'll do this very often, but do let me know what you think of this format. If you like it, then leave a comment, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already, and if you didn't, do let me know why as well. All of your feedback counts. This is Liko, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. See you next time.
Trust in me, give me everything. I need your love tonight, so baby, please don't fight it. Put your trust in me, I'll give you everything. So hold on to me, never let me go. Right here in your arms is where I wanna be.